Might already be live. We are. Look, we're live.
Amazing.
So right now on Facebook, it's saying we're going live, or Ashley Jangro's going live. I have my daughter Sophie here. So I'm going to introduce both of us in just a second. But first, I'm going to pull up live on Instagram because I use StreamYard and Instagram does not connect to StreamYard. You want to be in control of the live on Instagram? Meaning you hold it?
I don't know how it.
Okay. All right. So
You have to hold it there.
no, we're now live on Instagram too. So now we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So I'm here with my daughter Sophie for Ask Ashley Live, which is every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. She's joining me today because she shared some information yesterday about how she manages anxiety when it comes up. And I was listening to her and I thought this would be extraordinarily helpful for my clients to hear, for anyone to hear whose child struggles with anxiety. She kind of like brings together sorry, I'm reading the notifications on here. Hang on. I'm going to talk anyway. It kind of brings together all the information I teach and shows how it could apply in a teenager's life. So I'm super, super excited to share this with everybody. I'm going to sign off of the Instagram live. If you're interested in watching this, you can come over to ashley.tube, which is my YouTube channel, and that connects to StreamYard. I can see any comments that go up. They'll come up on the screen even if I want them to, but it does not connect to Instagram. So I'm going to sign off over here on Instagram. If you want to be part of this, come over to ashley.tube. Sometimes it doesn't work on mobile. You can just go to YouTube and look for Ashley Jangro Coaching. So I'll also be showing up on my Facebook page, Ashley Jangro Coaching. So I will see you guys there. If you're coming from Instagram, I hope to hear from you. Bye. Okay, so now we are off of Instagram. And we'll see what happens there. But we are back over on YouTube and Facebook. So I'm Ashley Jangro. I'm a mental wellness coach that helps moms in my program, Mentally Strong Moms, where I teach a unique set of strategies, a unique method, so that moms can really learn all that they need to and become the parent that they need to support their kids, to help their kids overcome whatever they're struggling with. So that might be anxiety, that might be feelings of depression, that might be goal setting, that might be, getting to know the future. But what I do is I help moms apply the strategies to their own lives so that they really have that experiential knowledge of the skills. And then also they feel strong enough that they're building the strength, that they're learning the strategies and getting the support they need to raise mentally strong kids and to help their kids overcome whatever is going on in their lives. So if you're interested in that, you can either stick around. I'll talk more about that at the end of this live stream, or you can go to momsquad.ashley.tube. Mom Squad's my free online community where we talk about all this stuff. So head over there, put your name and email address in, and I will invite you to that free community. So as I mentioned, I have my daughter Sophie here. She is 14. She's a freshman in high school. She's absolutely adorable. And she was just talking to me yesterday. She's on the cheer team. She has never done any cheer before this year. So as you could imagine, that brings up some strong emotions, right? Especially right before a performance.
Definitely.
So she was just coming home from cheer yesterday and she was telling me or actually it was earlier than that, but she was telling me about how she manages that. And I was like, holy cow, Sophie, everything you're saying, you're bringing together all the stuff that I teach and showing how it can apply to a teenager's life. And I'd love for you to come on camera and share that. So fortunately, it's Thanksgiving break and she could. So real quick before we get started, I just want to add a little disclaimer here. Sophie is Sophia at school, but she's amazing. She has gone through a lot. She's been through some heavy stuff. However, none of it has hit her brain in a way that has left lasting trauma. If your child, if whoever it is in your life that you want to provide help to has been through trauma, there's some differences here in how we would talk about it. So for whatever reason, anything Sophie's been through has not caused trauma in her life. So these strategies work a little bit differently. So I just want to add that disclaimer on there before you hear about how she manages anxiety. So because she said all this to me yesterday, I'm going to direct some of her answers because I want her to bring up some of the things she said. She might be nervous right now. Are you nervous?
No.
I'm good. So I have some questions for her. She kind of knows what they are. So you brought up a moment that you were experiencing some anxiety, right? What was that moment for you?
Right before we go out for competition.
Yeah. So you're right before you're about to perform in front of a lot of people, right?
Yes.
And it feels pretty uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay. And you brought up something with me where you were like, I started thinking I was going to have a panic attack. Is that accurate?
Yes. We get very intense emotion.
Yeah. So if things felt really big, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you were having that moment and then you said, but I stopped and I told my brain something. So because of how we talk about our brains, she also talks about her brain as like it's something separate than her. So we talk all the time. Like I was telling my brain that, okay. So tell me what you said to your brain.
I have to tell my brain that like instead of being nervous or panicked, that I'm excited to go out there and show people what we've been working on.
Yeah. So you kind of reframe it in your mind, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which makes it a lot easier to do.
Yeah. So I'm going to dig into that a little bit more. But first, I want you to tell me, what did you tell your brain about is the emotion of anxiety dangerous to you?
No, I have to tell myself that it's not like alarming. It's just like a normal human emotion that everybody goes through.
Yeah. So when you had that like intense anxiety, you were like, it's just a human emotion, right?
It's normal.
It's like my brain doing what it's supposed to do. It's protecting me from what it thinks is dangerous, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I talk about that a lot in my program about how I think it's pretty damaging when we frame in our own minds and to our kids anxiety is something that is like dangerous. Like, okay, we need to never feel that. Like it exacerbates the problem because it becomes a bigger problem when we talk about it that way. And it's like there's this monster in the closet, and the bigger or the more we stay away from it and don't investigate it, the bigger it becomes in our brains, the bigger it feels. So you just told yourself it was a human emotion.
Yep.
I'm checking my notes here too. So when you were in that moment, instead of like trying to fight it off or like distract yourself, I mean, you're not allowed to have your phone there, so you can't just get on Instagram. But instead of trying to distract yourself, do you feel like you just had a moment where you just allowed it to be there?
Yeah, you have to. I focus on what it's making me feel so that I'm not like trying to avoid it.
Mm-hmm. So when you did that, what did allowing that emotion do for you? What did it enable your brain to do?
It enabled my brain to like stay calm,
Mhm.
and then it helped me think more clearly. And it also helped me stay more on track for what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So when you were telling me about this yesterday, you mentioned it really allowed me to see what the problem actually was instead of, like what my brain's telling me, I'm going to die if I go out there, which we talked about yesterday. Her brain actually is telling her that because of the ways our brains have developed over generations, over thousands of years. It was like, you might die if you go out there. So it allowed you to see what the problem actually was. What was the problem? Like when you took time later to investigate that, what was the problem?
The trusting my
Mhm.
bases and trusting my whole teammates and relying on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to focus on myself.
Yeah. So what I didn't explain when I said that you were on the cheer team is that she's a flyer. Like not only has she not done cheer before, but she gets like tossed up in the air and thrown around, which is a really great chance for me to manage my own anxiety as I'm watching that. But she's a flyer. So she has bases. She has the people that hold her up. So what do you mean by trusting your bases?
I have to make sure they are doing their job. And instead of trying to do their job for them, I have to focus on what I need to be doing so that we can all be doing the right thing.
Yeah. So if you try to do their job for them,
nothing works well.
Yeah. What'd you say? What happens if you try to do their job?
We all topple down.
Yeah.
We all fall.
We all fall. So just by telling your brain, hey, anxiety is normal. It's not an
normal
emergency. I'm not having a panic attack. I'm just feeling uncomfortable in my body, it allowed your brain to like open up to like, oh, okay, we can manage it. So you taught your brain that emotion's manageable.
Yep.
And then that allowed you to see, oh, here's the feelings that are actually, or here's the story my brain's telling me that's creating that anxiety, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what I was going to get to. And then you made a comment. I actually wrote it down because I loved it so much. Do you see this right here? That it was not what? Can you read this from here? Physical? What was it?
Oh, yeah. Instead of like being in physical danger or thinking what I need to do physically, I have to think what I need to change in my mind, the brain, my mental thoughts to help me succeed.
Yeah. So I think your comments were like, the way I needed to improve wasn't even physical. It was all mental. It was all mind work that needed to be done.
I had to tell myself I know what I'm doing and my brain can, help me get there.
Yeah. Do you know what you're doing?
Yes, I've done it many, many times before.
Do you ever have that thought though, like, I don't know what I'm doing?
Not really anymore. Like before competition, sometimes I would, where I'd be like, oh goodness, what if I mess up? But I have to stop that thought and be like, no, I know what I'm doing. We've done this before. And it helps a lot.
So all you had to do is like practice that thought over and over. That's exactly what I teach all the time. Like you have a neural pathway that says, I don't know what I'm doing. And you just,
not true.
Yeah, you realize it's not true. So you just have to practice this new thought, right? Like, nope. And you can treat your brain like a 2-year-old and you're like, no, I know what I'm doing. And you shut it down. Okay. So I'm looking at what else I wrote down that you said. I was like blown away by how you practice this. So you said you had the brain space to actually look at the problem. Oh, and that the problem was you didn't trust your body and you didn't trust your base, but you didn't even know that you didn't trust your base, right? Until you like calmed that emotion.
Yeah, because before when I was trying to fix what they had to do, things would just go wrong. So if I knew that I was going to do what I had to do, that they could do what they had to do.
And what happens so you became aware also, your brain had this story that you could not trust your own body. What happened? What changed when you just started practicing that thought? Like, I can trust my body to do what it's going to do.
We would hit and we would succeed. So,
okay. So for people who maybe don't know cheer terms, which I did not, what does that mean? We would hit.
We would successfully do the stunt without falling.
Okay. So you would not topple.
Exactly.
Which is good because it helps mom's anxiety when I know you're not falling on your head.
Yeah.
Okay. So it turned out that you didn't need, yes, you needed physical practices as well, but you also really needed to be cautious about managing your mind, and it made you a better athlete. So you also mentioned that not only did that help you, what else happened?
My other teammates were my other friend who's a flyer also on the team. She was struggling with some of her stunting. And so I had to tell her the same thing, that if she can just rely on herself and that she knows what she's doing and her bases know what she's doing, and if she doesn't have to try and fix what her bases are doing, then it'll go well. And so after I told her that, she tried it and she hit it. So
And she
kept hitting it.
I wanted to say she got all her hits. That's not right.
No.
She hit all her stunts. Okay. I don't know all the lingo. So you helped her kind of manage her thoughts. So that's really cool to me. I feel like that's really inspiring that not only were you able to become a better athlete, but you were sharing it with people around you. Because here's something I say about my program, Mentally Strong Moms, is that it's how we're going to change generations worth of mental health. So our mental health legacy, because our kids learn this stuff, they implement it in their own lives. And if and when they eventually have kids a long, long, long time from now, they're going to raise their kids that way. They're going to raise their kids with these strategies, with managing their minds, managing their thoughts, really experiencing their emotions so that those emotions don't feel scary and so that they realize they're not emergencies. This is all the stuff I teach in my program. So when you're in the moment. So this is kind of all mind management that you do after, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think about, okay, that's what was the story that my brain was telling me that created that emotion. In the moment, you can imagine like you're about to walk out there and you feel really tense. What do you do?
I breathe and I just tell myself I know what I'm doing. And I have to tell myself that I've done this before and that people trust me. And so I need to trust them.
So you think those thoughts that you've practiced outside of that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, you always breathe.
Well, yeah, but I slow my breathing, more focused breathing.
Yeah, you slow your breathing. That's one of the things we talk about a lot, right? Like you engage your parasympathetic or your calming portion of your nervous system by extending your exhale, making that exhale longer. Because what did you say you noticed that you do right before you're going out?
I start to breathe really fast or I stop breathing. So
let's not do that. That's not a good strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to focus or I like start pacing.
Okay.
Thinking.
So you extend that exhale. And then you said it at the beginning of this live, but you said that you reframe how you're thinking about it.
Yep.
So you start thinking.
I start getting really nervous. And instead of thinking I might mess up, or I think if I succeed, I can impress people. So change that negative thought to a more positive one.
Yeah. I wrote down that you said, a lot of times I'm thinking I might disappoint people on my team, people watching me. I might disappoint them. And you reframe it to say, I might impress them. Yeah. And so the way you said it was you like to change that negative way of thinking about it to the same thought, but positive.
Yep.
Why?
It helps. The positive thoughts in your brain are more open. So when you have a open positive thought, it's letting you focus more and have like a better attitude about it, I guess. And you kind of need that. And if you have a negative thought, you're already focusing on the bad and what could go wrong. That's just not helpful.
Yeah, which makes it also more likely it'll happen, right?
Because you're already focusing on it going wrong.
Totally. So we talk a lot about, Sophie and I do, about the neural pathways that you're creating in your brain. And I am definitely going to share what I overheard you saying to someone because I love it so much about when you're looking in the mirror. Can I share that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll share that. But we talk a lot about like, if you're staying in a negative spot, you're operating out of a certain side of your brain. And if you can shift it to the same thought, but from a positive perspective, this is not like just think positive and like the toxic positivity, but purposefully shifting over into that positive side of it, then you're training your brain to default to the positive more often. And that's what I talk about, how, you wake up one day and you just feel better in general because you're more likely to effortlessly end up perceiving something positively. So what I overheard her saying that I thought was so great is one of her friends was looking in the mirror and was like, oh, I hate how I look awful. And Sophie was like, stop, don't tell your brain that, because you're creating a neural pathway that then you'll start just thinking, oh, I look awful all the time. Like that'll be your default thought. And she also says to her friends, like, don't make me, what do you say?
Don't make me give you a brain lesson.
Don't make me give you a brain lesson. So she's like, I like to look in the mirror. What do you say when you look in the mirror?
I can't say that.
I mean, you can see yourself on the screen. What do you think?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, she looks at herself and she's like, I'm gorgeous, which she is, which we all are. And it's been really helpful for me to see that and see, oh, if that's how I talk to myself, if that's how I talk about myself, that's how I'm going to think of myself. And I want to. That's how I want to think of myself. And it just has blown my mind that it's a matter of practicing thinking that when you see yourself, as opposed to truth or fact that you look good or you don't. Everyone looks good. Everyone doesn't look good. So they're all true and they're all not true and they're all equally as true. So it might as well be the thought that or the story that we take with us might as well be something that helps us, right? Okay. So you reframe, okay, I'm going to walk through the steps of what you explain that you do. You allow the emotion. You later go back and investigate what story was my brain telling me, Is it true? Can I reframe it in any way? Then you reframe it in a way that it's positive so you can go out there and experience something positive.
Yep.
And what I teach Sophie is that however she is thinking about something creates the filter through which she sees everything. Because the way our brains work, whatever thought we have, whatever story we're telling ourselves, they prioritize things that prove that thought, that provide evidence for that thought, and they filter out anything that doesn't prove that thought. So in a way, our thoughts like create our reality, right? Because it's what we see more of, whatever story we're telling ourselves.
Even after, like, even if we do fall in a stunt, I have to make it positive.
Mhm.
Like, it'll give me a good chance to learn or get better.
Mhm.
Because if I turn it to, I'm not a good athlete or I'm not good at this, then I won't be. So I'm not going to try as hard
Yep. Because
to
then you'll
succeed.
show up differently, right?
Mhm.
If you're telling yourself, I'm not good at this, you show up in a way that doesn't help you improve.
Yep.
But if you regard that failure as like a learning experience, then you show up in a way that you're going to improve. I love that thought. I also love your eyeshadow.
Oh, thank you.
So it looks really good. She's very good at this. I think that's everything that we covered. I really appreciate you sharing all of this. I think it's a great example of how all these things I teach, feeling your feelings, becoming aware of your thoughts, what story you're telling yourself, and then challenging that story, investigating that story. That's a really good example of how it all plays out. And for your case, played out in a way that made you a better athlete. So I think that's great because a lot of times we talk about these strategies as something to help manage anxiety, to overcome feelings of depression, to figure out what we're doing with our future. But Sophie used these to become a better athlete. So I think that was super, super helpful. So unless I hear from anybody now, there is a way. In just a second, I'll excuse you. So if you don't want to sit here and be on screen anymore, but there's a way I can share the link. If people want to come on, just shoot a comment right here. If you have any questions for Sophie, if you can comment on the Facebook Live, if you can comment on the YouTube Live, then it will show up. I can see that and I can see if anybody has questions. People can come on screen. They can just type questions, whatever it is you want to do. If that does not happen, then we'll just wrap up. If you're watching this later, because I know that you can see this later on YouTube, on Facebook, you can also comment on it if you have questions for Sophie, and she'll answer them. She'll come back and answer them. Right?
Yep.
I should have asked you that before I said it, I guess.
No, you're good.
So if you're watching this later, then you can do that. If you are interested, I mentioned that I do have the program Mentally Strong Moms, where I help moms build the strength, learn the strategies, and get the support that they need to help their kids overcome their struggles, to raise mentally strong kids so their kids have that resilience to be mentally healthy. Then you can head over to momsquad.ashley.tube. The link is in the comments. Thank you, Scott. And just put your email, your name in, and I'll send you information about the program. You can join the free community where we talk about all this stuff all the time. In addition to that, I just put a brand new video in the Mom Squad where I talk about, I interviewed all 3 of the girls and asked them, what are your favorite strategies that you use to manage anxiety? It's kind of been the topic of the week, right? So I share all those strategies inside that free online community. So momsquad.ashley.tube for more information about the program and to see that video. So it seems like, as far as I can tell, we don't have any questions. No one else wants to come on screen, but they might have questions in the future for you. It's probably going to be about like how to do a pyramid or something, but
It's stressful.
Yeah. So do you feel like, though, even though this is brand new for you, that Scott says, yay, Sophie. Do you feel like you're glad that you got involved in cheer?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you have really loved it. Okay. Well, we will sign off, and I look forward to seeing people over at momsquad.ashley.tube. I will be here again, same time, same place next week, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time at ashley.tube or Ashley Jane Grow Coaching on Facebook. So can't wait to see you there.